So, I mean, he tried to rebuild this without breaking it down totally. So I think what we're seeing here is a solid season, something that we didn't foresee as far as maybe sneaking in eighth place, but we saw a great Open Cup run. But I think what you'll see in the off season and the beginning of next season is something that we're all looking forward to. I don't really see this as being a failure of a year, but you're right. It's kind of hard to swallow us being eighth place. It definitely is. But also the league play has improved as well. That's something that we don't talk about a lot.
Well, hold on, wait. I would feel better. First of all, the Open Cup was amazing. I was over the moon with that performance. With what the guys did, how far they went, it was tremendous. But with our performances, the league as of late, those are indefensible. You can't lose 5-0, 4-0, and then come out flat and home in front of 22,000 people and draw a team that you're worse against. You're better than 1-1. You just can't. So, I mean, I'm not feeling good right now, and I'm like I said, I'm glad we still didn't doing the Open Cup, but we still got to do better. And I just don't see like the guys are executing a plan on the pitch. If I feel like I saw build-up play and guys going in and looking dangerous and it just wasn't working out, that would be one thing. But our last 3 league matches, they've been less than desirable, and I don't think that changed this past Saturday. So I'm definitely concerned, and I don't think, even though we had that cup run, I don't think that we should be complacent with that. I think we need to ask more of this team, and we deserve more of this team. And they are, the onus is on them these last 6 games, or they will have a lot to answer.
We want to hear from you folks on the Kings Hammer Hotline, 513-399-KICK. Get your thoughts in. Do you think FC Cincinnati will make the playoffs here in 2018? Again, 513-399-KICK. Well, we're pleased to be joined now on the Kings Hammer Hotline by Jason Ridge. You can follow him on Twitter at Cincy2London. He's a member of American Outlaws Cincinnati. He joins us now on the phone. Jason, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing A-okay tonight. How about you, fellas?
A-okay, I like that. Well done. So, before we get started with I can't even speak tonight. With what's happening with Cincinnati here in a few weeks, I want to get your initial thoughts on what happened tonight down in Honduras.
Wow. We'll take it. I'll take it. If you would have told me before the match you could have a 1-1 draw, I would have taken it. But, we have some things to work on, obviously. Our lineup changes every match. That's a little scary for me, but, we're still in it. I'm not pushing the panic button just yet.
And a draw is actually a pretty good result. It keeps you, on pace, and you still have games against Trinidad and Tobago and Panama left. So those are 2 winnable games for the United States as well. So it's not time to panic, like you just said. But again, even just watching that game tonight, Jason, it was like, I know the conditions were extreme, very hot. The field looked like it was, up to their knees as far as the grass goes. But it was hard to watch at times tonight.
Yeah, when you go to Central America to play matches, that they're going to do everything they can, gamesmanship-wise. Whatever it is, they're honking horns all night the night before outside the hotel rooms. They don't cut the grass. They play the games in the middle of the afternoon when it's 90 degrees and 100% humidity, and our players who play in Europe can't hack it. You just have to deal with that, and we've been able to do that over the years. And for some reason, this cycle, we seem a little weak in that respect. But hey, we'll right the ship. It's going to be all right. We're not going to qualify. I'll just say that.
Whoa, hot take. But Jason, so thanks for coming on the show. I know it's been a long time coming, and we're glad to have you. Now, I wanted to kind of get the rundown on, for those who don't know, what American Outlaws do, and why should not just an NFC Cincinnati fan, but someone who may be new to soccer as a sport and new to supporting the U.S. as much as they will be now that they're an FC Cincinnati fan. Why should they join?
Well, I mean, it's always good for the soul to be part of something bigger than yourself, right? So this organization, this group of people, it's amazing to go and watch matches with everyone. Like-minded people from all walks of life come together for one thing, to cheer on the U.S. national team. It's a beautiful thing. How could you not want to do that?
Well, tell us first of all, kind of what's the perks of joining AO, and why do you get involved?
So the perks, it's like this. It's $25 to join. Go to the website, theamericanoutlaws.com, membership. Beyond the swag, you're going to get a T-shirt. You're going to get a bandana. You're going to get all the AO swag. You're going to get discounts on AO trips. Say you want to go to a World Cup qualifier in Trinidad, which is coming up, and it'll be a pretty sweet trip. Discounts on travel. You're going to get first crack at tickets for matches when they're coming up. I know a lot of people got shut out in the USA Mexico. If you remember, you probably weren't going to get shut out. It's along those lines.
So we've got a big game coming up in a few weeks with the U.S. women's national team coming to Nippert Stadium, coming to Cincinnati. Talk about the plans for that. Where is AO Cincinnati, and how much have they been involved with that upcoming match?
So, I mean, it is a midweek women's friendly, so take that as you will. But we're night before party at Molly Malone's in Covington. We're still trying to secure a spot for the day of tailgate. There will be something, and if you just follow the Twitter feed or the Facebook page, you are going to find out more within the next few days. But along those, beyond that, the supporters groups of FC Cincinnati have reached out, and we have something special planned for the match as well, so keep your eyes out for that.
So, Jason, I know you've been following this squad a lot, and probably your entire soccer fandom life. I kind of wanted to get a grasp on of all of the moments, and there have been a lot that stick out to me. What has been your favorite moment as favorite U.S. soccer moment, men or women, either one?
My favorite moment? Wow, there's so many. Honestly, I'll tell you what, and it came in a loss, even. So, if you might remember, we used to do the U.S. Soccer Federation used to do this summer tournament in the early '90s called the U.S. Cup, and they would have the bigger nations from around the world come and play us. England, everybody, blah blah blah. '93, the summer of '93 was the first men's national team game I ever saw, and it was at Chicago at Soldier Field. We played Germany, and they were the runners-up to the European Cup the summer before. So they brought the house. Klinsmann was on that roster. It was loaded. We lost 4-3 in that game, but we were down 4-1, and we were pressing. We came back, scored 2 late goals to make it 4-3, and it felt like we were going to come back and at least draw that game. It was amazing. I was hooked after that. I was hooked.
One of the things a lot of fans see when they're watching matches, I know the U.S.-Mexico match this year, where before the match, we saw the huge tifos. We saw Christian Pulisic rising out of the fire, with the Dos a Cero moment. Do you guys have any special plans for tifos to show to the nation? And if you do, or is there some details you can tell our crew, maybe some tidbits on how they could get involved?
I would say this. If you're interested in something along those lines, keep your eyes peeled for the AO Cincy Twitter feed and the Facebook page. There are going to be more details in the next few days. That's all I can say at this moment.
AO Cincy Twitter, right?
Yep.
So you're keeping us on the edge of our seats here. I want to know.
That's by design. That's by design.
Will it have anything to do with Rose?
I cannot confirm or deny those reports.
All right, as long as it's not Pete Rose. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. So talk about what's going on right now. As far obviously we know American Outlaws is a national organization. How much involvement have they had in getting ready for what's upcoming here in Cincinnati in a few weeks?
Quite a bit actually, but it's like they've had a lot going on in the last few weeks. So, you know, they take it as they come. So we are next in line. The U.S. home World Cup qualifiers are over, so they're now focused on what's going on with this match. But we are getting things situated. It's a process. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people living in different parts of the country trying to communicate and get things together. So it hasn't been the easiest, but we're making it work.
So we've had a lot of events around here for the national team. We've had Columbus, Cleveland. We've had Nashville recently. But we haven't had the women's team here for quite a while. What's it feel like, especially around this environment of FC Cincinnati that we've had as late? What's it feel like to finally get your home national team here?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, the women have played here twice before, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different situation now. You know, the entire culture of soccer has changed in the greater Cincinnati area in the last 2 years. And it's been so immediate, and it's amazing, and I love it. Where was it 20 years ago? But that's another story for another time. But it's going to be the icing on the cake for the Cincinnati soccer image. It really will.
Well, I hope you're right, Jason. If folks want to join AO Cincinnati, tell them again where they can find out more information.
So go to the website, theamericanoutlaws.com, click membership, fill it out. It's a yearly membership, $25 a year. It's a subscription service as well, so they're going to re-up it every year automatically. But every year you'll get the T-shirt, you get all the AO stuff. Definitely click your member chapter, Cincinnati, because we get funds from everybody that joins. So we definitely would like that for scarves, T-shirts, events, what have you.
And so this is probably a silly question, but if folks don't live in Cincinnati, but they're maybe from Cincinnati, they grew up in Cincinnati, but they live outside of Cincinnati, could they still join AO Cincinnati, or are they required to join the chapter that they live in?
They can join whatever chapter they want to. I mean, they don't even have to put a chapter down, to be honest with you. But if they want to go Cincy, absolutely they can.
Fantastic stuff. Jason, we appreciate you being on with us. Best of luck with the upcoming match against New Zealand, and we'll check back with you again here real soon. All right, bud?
Awesome. Thanks a lot, fellas. You guys have a good night.
Thanks, you too. That's Jason Ridge joining us here on the King's Hammer Hotline. Appreciate him giving us a ring tonight and letting us know what's going on with the preparations for the U.S. Women's National Team match coming up a little bit later this month. We've got phone lines open, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. All right, so area code 513 has been waiting very patiently, been on hold for 25 minutes, and we appreciate you sticking around with us. Hi, you're on Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
It's Ethan.
It's Ethan. What's up, man?
What's up, E? How you doing, buddy?
What's up? Good.
I want to know, how's the soccer team? How you doing? You playing well?
Yeah.
Have you keeping clean sheets like Mitch?
No.
Didn't
We're
you
giving up
faced
a couple goals.
you faced a PK this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I saved the PK.
Nice. So you are doing your best Mitch impression. That's good.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind tonight?
First off, Brad, nice shirt you have on.
Hey, bro, just for you.
For those of you listening to the audio podcast, Brad is sporting a Bailey Bastards shirt. Well done, Brad.
There you go.
What else you got? What else is on your mind, Ethan?
What is the magical number of points that we need to get to make it into the playoffs, you think?
Ooh, Joseph, you're the math guy on this show. Why don't you give us your best guess?
Oof, that's a really good question, Ethan. So 6 games left. We're at 35.
Yep.
35. I want to say, well, to make it, I'll go 8. I think.
So 43?
Right. 8 in addition. Yeah. 43. 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses. I think that'd be cutting it razor thin. But I prefer, especially, but I prefer more, of course, but even though they're going to play some lighter competition than they're used to, they're going to be away, last 2 matches against Canadian sides. So I'm hoping 8. I think if everything shakes out now that a lot of teams behind us, sans Bethlehem Steel, who's a game back and a point back, or game in hand and a point back, everything's kind of evened out with our time off. So hopefully we have a better picture of week to week where we stand, and there's not as much wondering about outliers as far as games played.
But see, here's the thing: you mentioned Bethlehem Steel; they have the game in hand, so that's gonna be crucial that FC Cincinnati continue to pick up points. For me, I'm thinking they've got to at least get to 45 because it's not just Bethlehem Steel; even the Riverhounds are right there on their tails, just 1 point back. One slip up by this team, and they can be overtaken by the Riverhounds. So I'm gonna say 45 points. Ethan, what do you think?
I'm not sure. 46?
All right. You're going to top me like that? That's cool. I get it. That's fine. Well, E, we appreciate you staying on the line, and keep us updated on how the season's going. All right, buddy?
All right.
It's Ethan Weimer giving us a ring on the King's Hammer hotline. I'm finally getting the name Weimer correctly. It only took me how many months into this season for me to finally get that name right? But appreciate you calling, Ethan. Let's go back to the phones. We've got another caller here from 513. Hi, who's this?
It's Yersky. How are you guys?
Hey, what's up, Yersky? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long day at work. I'm just glad I'm home now.
Nothing like working all day and then coming home to a little CST, right?
Absolutely. Came home just in time to see that goal, and then I turned on have the Xbox on YouTube, so I'm watching you guys on the big screen. It's kind of cool.
Well, awesome. What's on your mind tonight?
I kind of want to talk about how, and I don't want to use this word in a negative term, but it's going to kind of sound negative. This team reminds me of a light switch, and because the game of soccer is so momentum based, it seems like any time that this team has momentum going in the wrong way, it's really in the wrong way. First of all, do you guys agree with that? And second of all, do you think that is something that we can fix going forward? Because in my opinion, if we don't fix that, we're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy, actually, if you think about it. I mean, they flipped the switch to play teams like the Crew, the Fire, Miami FC, but then yet when they face the bottom feeders in the USL, in the Eastern Conference, they struggle against they struggled with Ottawa, even though they get the win. They struggled with Pittsburgh. They've struggled with Bethlehem this year. Orlando City. I mean, you're right. That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, that going to that game in New York, it was just I saw the first minutes of the game. It was so reminiscent of that game in New York, and that game was absolutely miserable. But I saw flashes of positivity when we scored, which reminded me more of the games against Ottawa or the games against Louisville. But it seems like when we have something bad that happens with this team, it goes really wrong in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. You're right, though. I mean, they capitalized on the mistake there by Pittsburgh. Wiedemann, Johnny on the spot, was able to capitalize on the mistake from their back line and put it in the back of the net. So I think that the biggest disappointment I have from that game was the slow start. Being the fresher team, though, Yersky. I mean, they hadn't played in 10 days.
Right.
That to me is unacceptable.
It's kind of disappointing because, this team, they came out flat. Plain and simple, they came out flat, and they gained their footing after a while. And getting a vacation is all great in that, but I completely agree. I forget who said it. That it seemed like for the beginning part, at least, they were still on vacation. They still didn't fully come back.
Yep, I agree. I like the analogy though about the light switch, Yersky. Appreciate the call, buddy.
All right, guys, have a great week.
You too. That's Yersky giving us a ring here on the King's Hammer hotline. We want to know from you if you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube finally, because Subs doesn't know what he's doing apparently tonight. Give us a ring, 513-399-KICK. Our question of the night is, will FC Cincinnati make the playoffs this year? Currently sitting in 8th place in the Eastern Conference. Teams behind them with games in hand. It's going to be dicey, but FC Cincinnati, we've seen them play really well this year. Let's hopefully they can turn things around and get back to winning ways here very, very soon. Of course, if you're a fan or follow us on social media this week, or if you follow a lot of soccer contacts on social media this week, you saw the news about NASL. Previously, they were sanctioned Division II a year ago along with USL. What has been announced that starting next year, I believe, it will be Division III. So NASL dropping down a division. No longer will there be two Division II leagues in the United States Soccer Federation. Guys, what does this mean for FC Cincinnati moving forward?
Well, first off, it's sad because you never want to have soccer teams or soccer leagues fail. May not be the right word, but kind of fail. You don't want them to, because these are guys who have gone through college and they want to be professionals. They want to get paid to play the game. And when leagues fail and things happen like this, it sucks. What's it happened for FC Cincinnati? I think it's a mixed bag. I think USL, it's good for USL because they want to be D2. But I think, FC Cincinnati, if we want to challenge to become, one of the best, teams in the country, and people talk about pro rel and all that, we need to have a healthy Division II. We need to have healthy teams. And when you have teams failing or leagues failing that contain big programs like Indy 11, North Carolina FC, Miami FC fail, that's tough for FC Cincinnati as a whole.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brad. For the love of the game, you don't want to see any realm of it fail, but I think the writing was on the wall. A lot of people saw this coming, and what this means for Cincinnati, obviously you got players that want to play at the highest level they can possibly. So that obviously opens up a larger player pool, but also increases competition. So kind of in a way that would even itself out. But I think the writing was on the wall for the NASL, and I hope they still succeed in some aspect. But I think FC Cincinnati chose the right league when they came in.
And honestly, this delayed the inevitable, Joseph. I mean, this really should have happened a year ago. How it managed to stay alive in Division II for 2017 is kind of a shocker. When you consider all of the exodus of teams from a year ago. I know they were planning on expanding to different markets. San Francisco joined the league this year with not great results from the box office standpoint. I'm surprised it took this long to make this announcement.
I mean, U.S. Soccer Federation kind of gave them that silly. I thought it was silly. Given like two leagues D2 status, they kind of gave them time to, or a time to like hold off, time to prove themselves. And we even though we knew the writing was on the wall, it's sad on the levels that you guys are discussing, and also on a logistics level. I think a lot of people are thinking that, hey, while this league, if it does dissolve, a lot of great teams, I'd be stoked for Indy 11 to play FC Cincinnati regularly. A lot of teams will move over, but actually, when those teams move over, they have to, those players are on NASL contracts. We talked about this a while back, when these D2 talks began. Those players, so teams have to revamp and re-solidify their rosters. And before, there was kind of a holdup because no one wanted to be the straw that broke the camel's back and essentially have to pay more money to leave the league, their exit fee. But I mean, if they're spending money, that was for sure. But if they're not making money at the end, it's a business. What are we going to do if you're not making the money that you need to make the league survive? It may be sexy to sign those players, but I mean,
you said it right, Joseph. Soccer is a business. players make money and teams need to make money. And if we don't have healthy organizations financially, neither one of those can happen, and then teams collapse. So as far as FC Cincinnati goes, let's turn it back to them. It sucks that, you have some of these teams in trouble, but it also could be a good thing. If we have Indy 11 2 hours up the road, I mean, that's another rival. Can you imagine the rivalry between Indy, St. Louis, FC Cincinnati, and Louisville? I mean, that is going to be absolutely crazy. You add in Nashville, which is a short drive. So as far as, U.S. soccer goes, it sucks that a team's failing, but you can have these big teams come into this league, hopefully, and, you have an environment where the costs are constrained, may not be the right word, but costs are definitely lowered. You got, people aren't flying across the country. People aren't flying from Puerto Rico to Edmonton, Canada. That's just ridiculous. So, it could be a healthy thing, too, for U.S. soccer. If you contract some of these excessive costs, you get some of these teams that can be in healthy environments. You can look, we talked about North Carolina. If they create rivalries with Charlotte and Charleston and Richmond, maybe, that's another good thing for them. If you create these local rivalries, and, that's our thing with FC Cincinnati, talking about MLS, is, we could have a local rivalry with Columbus. You bring these local rivalries that are missing at NASL, and that may help. It may help in Indy. It may help in North Carolina. I mean, look at what happens with Louisville. They get 8,000 people, but FC Cincinnati shows up and they get 11 and 13,000. So, it sucks that a league's losing, but it could help the game going forward.
And we've seen this actually with MLS. If you think about it, when they added Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, what happened to the league? The popularity there I know it was on the West Coast, but those games were always hotly contested. They were big rivalry matches. They make for entertaining games on TV because you've got live, active crowds that are just partying like crazy. Now you add, like you said, Brad, Indy to the mix. Maybe someday you get Detroit in the mix. Pittsburgh, again, right along that I-70 corridor. Nashville, St. Louis. This area right here where we're at, it could become a hotbed of soccer, of professional soccer. Now, I know a lot of these cities are vying for that MLS spot, but still, it's remarkable to see the growth of this sport just in such a short amount of time. And I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, too, about this soccer being a business. NASL at the beginning of the year, they made all kinds of moves to position themselves. They got rid of their commissioner, right? So they replaced him. And, the Cosmos, they got a new owner. They brought that's their flagship team right there. And that despite all the moves that they've made, for some reason, it just never panned out with NASL. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, you just can't have teams that draw 1,500 people in San Francisco fly to Puerto Rico. Money's not there. You can't do it. No matter what you say, some of these guys who say Division II should be a national model, you should be playing everybody across the whole country. BS. That can work in England where you have a 4-hour train to the furthest, your furthest rival, versus in this country, you have a 4-hour plane ride, and it's 20 players, coaches, staff. I mean, that gets expensive. Now, if you have where you're drawing 10,000 people, 15,000 people, and you can afford that, of course. But the way it stands right now, these teams aren't selling themselves as major league teams. They're not getting huge crowds, huge environments. They just can't do it. And it boggles my mind why some of their leadership can't see that. And I think USSF sees it. And that's why they're choosing to put their eggs in the USL basket. Hopefully, we don't know it is official yet, but I think the signs are pointing to USL's D2 next year.
So we'll ask this question. I'll start with you, Griffin. Does the NASL survive?
As a D3, maybe for another year. But just a random thought. You think anybody from Indy or North Carolina has spoken to their recent coworkers in Tampa and maybe got a little jealous from their move?
Well, I mean, Steve Malik, who is the owner of North Carolina FC, sits on the board of the USSF. So I'm sure he understands what's going on in the situation. He even put out a tweet earlier saying, wherever D2 is going to be, that's where we're going to be. So
I say we just have three Division 3 leagues.
3 Division 3 leagues.
Yeah, even the minor USL league in D3, just make them all D3. No, I mean I don't understand. I don't, I'll egg on my face if we're wrong, but I don't see an outcome where they're going to D3, USL is in D2, and for what it's worth, it's been pretty clear. Like there are a lot of things that made NASL attention grabbing and made them kind of the shinier toy. But sustainability and reliability and consistency, though the product on the field may not have been as well. There may have been some, I guess, a wider spread on some of the product on the field. It's still, that's probably because we have, some MLS2 teams and a lot more teams than NASL. And that's why the USL is going to survive. And we're going to have problems with NASL existing next year.
So here's the big elephant in the room, guys, and we haven't mentioned this team yet. What does this mean for Miami FC?
I mean, that's a good question. You talked about.
I was going to say, they've kind of burned their bridge with USL. They've kind of actually, maybe burned the bridge is not the right word, but their lawsuit against the United States Soccer Federation regarding promotion and relegation probably didn't help things either. I'm not saying that's why NASL was going to be sanctioned D3. I'm sure that honestly had nothing to do with it, but the optics of it don't look great.
I have the answer. I have the answer to that question, Subes.
Okay.
They just submitted their application to join the Canadian Premier League.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a good. But what's it mean for Miami? I bet this is gonna turn litigious. I think we're gonna see a lawsuit or something from this.
Well, we're already seeing one.
No. I'm talking about these guys are gonna try to fight to save their league, and I wouldn't put it past Rocky Camiso of the Cosmos and Ricardo Silva of Miami to file some lawsuit in some court somewhere to prohibit this arbitrary decision. But it depends on what he wants to do. Why is this such a big beef, and why is this a question for those who don't know? It's because these guys don't like playing by the financial rules that groups like the USL like to do. NASL is a different league than the USL. The USL is a centrally owned franchise program where there's people who actually own the league, versus NASL is owned by the team owners. So those guys have the ability to spend as much money as they want to try to win the product, versus in the NA or the USL, it's generally understood that everybody has to follow certain financial guidelines. No, there's no official salary cap, but they all like to spend a certain maximum amount of money. And Rocky Camiso and Ricardo Silva don't like to play by those rules. So it remains to be seen, but it doesn't look promising. And especially with anything you need to think about with both of those markets, New York now has 2 MLS clubs. In turn 2019-2020, Miami's going to have Miami Beckham United. So there's a lot to be seen from those 2 clubs, but I would not say it looks promising.
We shall see. Make sure you stay tuned here to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We'll have all the latest regarding divisional sanctions for the Division 2 and Division 3 here this year. Usually this is about the time in the show where we do our Growler Cup predictions, but gentlemen, there's no game this weekend. What are you going to do to fill that void, Joseph?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to run the Growler Cup anymore because of the speculation and accusation from Brian Weigel internally about collusion, because Chris DeMeo's done such an awesome job catching up to him. But no, I think we're down to the last 6 games. There's still a lot of time to make moves, and who doesn't want to see themselves above others on the board? Also, as Nick brings up, it's never too late to join, and especially, man, that board is getting big, and it's nice to see that people are contributing to the show. We appreciate it. But this weekend, I know 2 weekends in a row, 3 for me because I missed Pittsburgh. It feels like 3 weekends in a row without a game that we can play. But it'll certainly get picked up on Tuesday, and then with the following weekend as well, with New York being in town.
Yeah, as Joseph said, we appreciate everybody joining the Growler Cup. You still can. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. If you enter now, you'll also be entered in for next season. So you don't want to miss that. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Of course, so we want to hear from you. You can always email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Hit us up on Twitter at CincySoccerTalk. And while you're at it, make sure you get subscribed to our podcast on iTunes, Google, wherever podcasts can be found. You can find out more information on how to do that over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Short show this week because we only have the one match to talk about. So we'll get out of here with our final thoughts. I'll start with you, Brad Weigel.
Oh man, pay attention to what's going down here in the next week. Pay attention to all the USL games going on, and then come next Tuesday, all the guys are going to need your support, even their way. There's a lot that needs to be done for the club to reach the playoffs. So just continue their support, and then I hope to see you all next Saturday.
It'll be Sunday night.
Is it really?
Yeah, we're going to do the show Sunday night instead.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because of the game being on Tuesday night. So, yeah, we'll do the show on Sunday night right here live on Facebook and YouTube at 9 o'clock, and I'll make sure I hit the start button correctly this week. So, good to have you back, Brad, as always. Appreciate it. Crickets? Okay.
No, I said thank you.
Oh, no, I did not hear that. Well, again, Joseph.
Go Tottenham. Go.
Oh, yeah.
You.
That's when I go ahead and mute Brad's channel there. All right, Joseph, your final thoughts as we get out of here?
I kind of want to echo your sentiments. One thing I've seen that gives me a lot of kind of pride in what's been done in Cincinnati is that I find a lot of people not only coming up to me talking about MLS, talking about the team, but maybe it's because we're in a little bit of tighter spot with getting into the playoffs, but greater knowledge and following of USL as a whole. So, I've had some friends ask me what to download, and I guess my final thought would be there are some great soccer apps out there. Who Scored and FootMob. If you want to track FOTMOB is that app to track USL play, because I know it's not on ESPN's app, and check those. Check the USL as things unfold, because it's going to be a tight finish, and you want to be up to date. So you'll be up to date following us here. The guys have done a great job posting when happenings occur around the league, but keep up with the league, because the league itself is growing, whether or not FC Cincinnati is here for long term.
I would say this too, and this is new. This is really recent. ESPNFC.com, when you go to check scores, actually shows USL games now, and believe it or not, they have the logos of all the teams now, whereas you could not say that earlier in the year. So that's good. That's a good sign that ESPN is taking notice of the USL and taking it seriously.
Jesse Garrett's actually corrected me. I must be wrong. They have USL on the ESPN app. They didn't have it when I last checked, so must be an update, but I haven't been checking regularly. Either way, following around the league has impressed me this year.
Good stuff, Joseph. Appreciate all your fine effort as always.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
And last but not least, the one and only Griffin, who he returned from his banishment in fine form tonight. Griff, appreciate all that you do for the show. Your final thoughts as we get out of here?
Yeah. Final thought. Obviously, we've promoted the fundraiser for the Houston area, but another fun example or great example of how the sport brings everyone together. I don't know if you guys seen the Stu Holden charity match. He's actually been coordinating an effort to do a charity match to raise money for the area. So if you have some time, look that up. I don't think the plans have been finalized, but I'm sure that'll be a fun event to raise some more money for the Houston area.
And, of course, if you want to contribute to the supporters groups of FC Cincinnati, their efforts for fundraising, log on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Harvey to donate. They're sending bottles of water down to Houston. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Harvey. Griff, it was good to have you back, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, Subes.
Oh, I know that's not true, because usually on Tuesday nights you're usually out on the soccer field. Don't lie to us.
Hey, I had to turn down an offer tonight to play, so I'm committed.
Well, we see where your heart lies. No, I'm kidding, of course. Glad to have you back. And glad to hear that you didn't slip and fall this year at the foot golf outing.
Believe it or not, I did wear my Sambas.
And you stayed dry.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Which team won? Which CST person had the best score this year?
I don't know. He's not here tonight.
Who didn't buy mulligans?
Oh, yeah.
He stacked his team.
Oh, he
Michael
always does.
Malide's garbage.
He always does.
We're gonna put that ginger in charge next year.
All right. It's time to get out of here. My final thoughts. Again, thank you to everybody who's gone out and contributed. If you want to support the show, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter as well at Cincy Soccer Talk. That's going to do it for episode 81. For Brad Weigel, Griffin, and Yosef, I'm Subs, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see everybody Sunday night for our next edition of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Bye, everybody.